What? Hi, this is the Jenn Hayward Show. Welcome. I'm Jenn Hayward. Welcome to the Jenn Hayward Show. We have a special edition, I guess, of the Jenn Hayward Show at 6 because I'm tired at 7. And I wanted to have like a robust discussion about COVID, and so I've invited some friends and colleagues and people to discuss COVID. So I'm going to talk for a couple minutes just to generate some interest. If you're here, go to the JennHaywardShow.com on YouTube or Facebook. If you're watching me on my personal page, which I can see a couple are, you won't be able to actually make a comment for us to see. I don't know why. It's the platform I use. So today we're going to be talking about COVID. I'll bring our panelists out right away. We had the infamous Trevor Thompson was going to be, and he was advertised on the show. He was unable to make it. And so Simone Holder has volunteered graciously to come in. It's weird. I have some food in my teeth and now I'm being all rude. It's weird, right? When you're like doing, like if I was on camera or if I was on a comedy show, I wouldn't be like grooming and stuff. But in Zoom, look at my hair, look at my whatever. We're here to talk about COVID because it's and I know it's the last thing people want to talk about, but we have to talk about it. And people are like, how can Jenn moderate a discussion? I have a lot of opinions. I do, but that's the thing. Hola, Darpan, please share from the Jenn Hayward Show. Well, obviously you're there because I can see you. Please, yeah. So we're here to be kind, to have a nice discussion. But I post a lot, as anyone knows, and I post a lot. First of all, I post about the bull crap of small businesses being shut down, more about the disparity between small business, big business, and also the, how shall you say, the ridiculousness of how some of the rules don't make sense. From anyone who's been involved in policy, some of these things you could see a mile away are pretty dumb. But I've also posted about the ridiculousness of everyone dying and the ICUs. And Ford's set to make another announcement tomorrow to further, I don't know what else they can do, but we're going to have those discussions. So everyone has passion about this. There's a lot going on. The one opinion I can tell you is that this has brought out quite a debate between what's essential and what's not essential. And everyone's view is different on it. Of course, we've been deemed essential as a business and we haven't been shut down to go for deliveries. However, no one wanted to work in the front line at the beginning because they said we're all going to die. We lost half our staff. We went through the year and it was a tough year, but we made it through. But right now, small businesses said, if you're going to shut us down, at least make it a fair playing field, that we can't go to Walmart and get the things that I've closed my store down for. So I got to say, Ford listened. And then knock, knock. I don't know what, Jason, I'm coming. Hi, everyone. Hi, Jason. And so what ended up happening with that is, and anyone on the mums group, people complained, but no more so than mums. The inconvenience of not being able to get crayons at Dollarama, the inconvenience of, and like I listened and I got it, but I was like, oh my God, you girls do not know what oppression is. But the piece de resistance that just, I said, I'm done. I'm done with society. I've come back, but I was done with you for a while, was when someone complained, and it was not a joke. Although if it was a good one, but it wasn't, that she was very upset that she had nowhere to purchase her cat's birthday party supplies. Her cat's birthday party supplies. 1, your cat doesn't give a shit. But 2, if you want to throw your pet a birthday, you go ahead, you go and you do that. But you can do it after the shutdown because your cat won't know the difference. So I just wanted to say that is the only thing that actually angered me, was someone's cat supplies. So anyway, that's the only opinion I'm going to share tonight, which we all know is bullshit. I'm going to talk, but I'm here to bring out our guest. So the first guest I'm going to bring up is the legendary, I don't know where he went. Jason, we can't see you, by the way. There he is, Jason Petrunak, who will be talking in a moment, introducing himself. He's representing an entrepreneur point of view, and really his own point of view, which a multitude of people share, and it needs to be heard because everyone is hurting and everyone needs a voice. I'm bringing comedian Simone Holder, who has like the best camera. Oh my God. We'll be here bringing the love, bringing some comments, bringing her opinion. I have no idea Simone's politics, so this is going to be interesting. And one of my very first friends here in Ottawa, and her house will be loud because there's 18,000 children there. Jennifer Forsyth. I met her in adoption class, actually. We were learning to be adoptive parents, and they pretty much taught us everything they needed to know. And so this is our panel, and I'm Jenn Hayward, and I'm a reluctant capitalist and a feminist, and one of the people who was in one of the fields that was lucky, to, in the COVID, to not be shut down. So I fully acknowledge that privilege. Now, I'm going to let each of these people introduce themselves. And I'm going to ask them just, sort of what they represent overall. Any sort of opening statements. It's not a debate, it's a discussion. Although we'll probably debate. And on a scale of 1 to 7, 1 to 5, because statistically 1 to 10 is not valid. So we're going to go 1 to 5. 1 being I wear my mask in the car all the time and when I'm having sex. And 5 being burn society down. How you're feeling in the COVID pandemic from one extreme to the other where you are. I have a feeling everyone will be in different levels. So Jenn, since you've got the noise level going on there, I'm going to let you start. Introduce yourself, what you do, and 1 to 5. Thanks.
Hey guys, nice to meet you. I'm just going to move because of course I don't realize my house is noisy because I have 18,000 children, as Jenn says, living in my home. So I'm a registered nurse, currently on mental health leave because of the profession. Got out just in time of COVID, thank goodness. But I have 30 years of experience as a nurse working in all variety of healthcare sectors. And, this has blown my mind, especially, I'm a huge advocate for Indigenous people, the elderly, and children. So this literally, as I sit back this time and watching what's falling around us, it has blown my mind. So, it hasn't only just affected my mental health as a nurse, also, trying to homeschool 5 children and who are in all different grades. It's been a mess. It's just been a mess. So that's me. I have a ton of opinions on COVID and what's happening. And
thanks. There you go. Yeah, no, there's this motion.
Sorry. Yes, absolutely. If I'm making anybody seasick.
Yeah, I'm getting seasick.
So Jenn, as from a nurse point of view, from your personal point of view,
I'm here. I'm back. I'm here.
Yeah. There we go. 0 to 5, Jenn. 0 being wear a mask all the time. 5
0 to 5. Okay, so I could say I was a 5 because only if I get my mask to fit properly and they're not fogging up my glasses, then I leave it on. I don't touch it.
Yeah.
I don't have pets, so I don't worry about that because we have too many kids.
Yeah. Oh, bad connection. All right. What number did you say? Your connection's not so good, but so what number did you say?
I would say like a 4.
4. Okay. Burn is down. And I didn't expect that from you.
Was
so
I
that's interesting. All right.
4.
Yeah. 4. Excellent. Okay. Thank you. We're going to go over to Simone. Simone Holder. Tell us a little bit about you, a little bit about what you do, and 0 to 5.
Okay. Well, I'm a part-time comedian, but I do work full-time. I'm a web developer with the public service. So I too have privilege because my job was secure. I worked from home from the start. The issue that I have is when people were complaining and bitching and moaning about needing a haircut and not wanting to wear a mask and all of this thing and saying like, talk about freedom and oppression. And I was like, you have no idea what oppression is like. And that's what pissed me off. If I have to wear a mask, I'll wear the mask, from the perspective of someone who lives alone, where I'm alone 24/7, practically, the toll on my mental health is not good. I'm adhering to the regulations, as vague and dumb as they sound sometimes, that I empathize with small businesses that have gotten it up the ass for the last year. And just the mixed messages we've been getting from the province. Like, I kind of lost it last week when I think it was after the long weekend, when the premier admonished people who went to the mall, but the malls were open. He's giving these mixed messages of like, stimulate the economy, go and shop, but you shouldn't have gone to the mall. Like, make up your fucking mind, like, pick a side and just stick with it. So I think there's just a lot, like, I appreciate that, this is unprecedented. This is something that none of us have ever experienced, and that there are a lot of unknowns. But at the same time, I feel that there should be some consistency with how regulations, because how many like MPs and stuff like that got dinged for like traveling at Christmas. They went to Cancun for Christmas. Meanwhile, I hadn't seen my sister in a year, and she lives an hour and a half away from me. So there were a lot of mixed messages, a lot of, do as I say, not as I do. And, just the basic selfishness that some people have, that they really do not understand what it's like to be oppressed.
Thank you.
So
0 to 5. I mean, I think I'm hearing the same thing as Jen, is that you adhere, but you're sick of it. But 0 to 5.
I'm sick of it. So 0 is I fuck the mask, and 5 is
everything, and I believe very, very firmly in all the rules, and 5 is like anarchy, I guess.
I'd say I'm more like 3, because I will wear the mask. I'm not going to make a fuss about wearing the mask, but like, enough already. Like,
yeah,
we've been locked up for long enough. Business, like, how many businesses have gone under, in the last year. Yeah. Meanwhile, places like Walmart, Amazon are like, record profits and stuff. Meanwhile, small businesses are struggling, and the stupid regulations. 10 people. What are you going to do with 10 people? Nothing.
Yeah.
So I'd say I'm like a 3.
It's not enough. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to move on to Jason. By the way, I want to acknowledge Japan, who said hi to everyone, and I haven't really said hi to you, so I'm going to put you on the screen. From Manatech Natural Market, we love you, Dar. All right. Newer to my friend, list in the last year has been Jason Petrunak, and so if you can introduce yourself a little bit, say anything sort of you want. I sort of know where you are, 0 to 5, but I'll let you go.
Sure. I'll start with my rating, and my rating will be whatever the politicians do. If it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me. You lead by example. This is a leadership society. We put people in leadership roles, and they're the ones closest to the information. So if they're rolling around without masks and they're jumping on planes, I don't see why I should be freaking the fuck out. That's me.
Yeah.
That's not to say that this isn't real. It's not to say that people aren't dying. That's just the way that it's happening, and it's unfortunate. I would let people know that I'm a small business owner myself. I'm a former radio announcer of 17 years. I've done a lot of MLM. I've done a lot of thinking outside the box, and I have a lot of friends that are entrepreneurs. I have a whole bunch of friends that are small business owners. I know some people that have secure jobs. The one thing that I see as a constant across the board is just the slow and sometimes rapid deterioration of people's mental health. And you know what? I'm all for making sure that people are safe from COVID, and everyone wants to talk about COVID deaths and COVID cases, but there's plenty of people that haven't even had a sniff of COVID that have lost their lives, and that seems to be just getting swept under the rug, and nobody seems to give a shit, or at least it's not being acknowledged.
Okay, thank you, Jason. I appreciate that. So one of you, I don't know who, is
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
That's
okay.
probably Jen.
Yeah, no, I'm following. Shit. Okay, let me just turn it down.
Oh, Jen,
Sorry, because I was following it and I forgot to put the
he forgot to turn it off.
volume
I
up.
was hearing him.
It's my fault.
I think Jen will be back. She was having some problems.
Yeah, no, the sound was me, but I can't hear it because I've got my earbuds in, so I'm like,
no worries. Well, hopefully Jen comes
Sorry.
back. If not, we'll carry on. So, I mean, here's the thing for all of us from different walks. I don't know what's going on here. From different walks of life. Hey, there's Jen. We're all from different walks of life. We all have different experiences with this, but in the end, I think we all understand that, like, no one here, I probably wouldn't have them on show, is minimizing that COVID is serious. I mean, it is serious, and but also that where's the end? And I think that's where we are. We're tired. Like I won't lie. From the end of the people who haven't been able to work are exhausted, just trying to hustle to survive, and those of us who have worked nonstop are exhausted. I'm not saying we don't make more money than we did a year ago, right? So no one's winning except for like Bezos. But what is the answer is the question. So the first thing I want to address is that tomorrow there will be, it's sure to be an announcement, and it's likely going to be curfews. We don't know, but it's the numbers are doubling. The numbers are increasing. ICUs, the reports are coming out, and all the things that are happening now are the things that I felt that the reason Simone stayed home, the reason Jen was at home homeschooling her kids, the reason I was out there busting my ass so people could stay home was to have this not happen. And here we are once again on the bridge of being like Italy. You know, I woke up, I don't think any of you know Linda LaGrue, maybe Jason does, woke up, first thing on her feed was someone, you know, her friend died COVID in the hospital. And a year ago, you know, the people who were the conspiracy theorists, things like that, were saying, prove it. How many of you know someone who's died from COVID? How many of you know? And here we are a year later, and most people know someone who's died from COVID. It's getting a little scary. I don't know, as an autoimmune person, how I got away with not getting it offside. I think I had it. And so here we are. We're at what is probably the worst place because the government's going to run out of money. People are running out of money, and the mental health is horrible. But what is the answer? Is the answer to do the full lockdown like they should? I think they should have a year ago. Lock us down for 3 months. Everyone, let the military give us money. 3 months of horrible life, and maybe it would have been fixed. Or is there always going to be one person who says, screw it, I'm immune to the rules, I'll go do what I want? And and I know Jason and I disagree on this, but I do believe those are the people causing the issue. So I'm going to let Jason speak to that first, because that is an opinion that I said I wouldn't say. But
well, there's not a lot to really add to it other than there's no metrics to it. That's pure speculation.
But if everyone was doing what they did and what they were supposed to do, how would it get transmitted if people weren't?
Because it's super highly contagious. It comes through the air, it comes through touch, it lives on surfaces for Lord knows how many years. It keeps on changing. They say there's different strains. So how do you gain metrics on a private gathering? Because you don't know these private gatherings are happening or how many. Are there? Sure. And in any type of scientific hypothesis, I mean, you know that there's going to be variables. There's, X, Y, Z, and there's always going to be so many people that don't comply. I could tell my best friends, I could round up 10 friends and let them know that, like, listen, there's a crazy person that wants to kill all my friends. Whatever you do today, don't open your front door. And for sure, I'm losing 2 friends because people just don't listen. So we have to find a way to get through this with people that don't listen, because our politicians and the people in power, they don't listen either. And this is happening across the board, and some really high-powered people are defying the rules and the regulations. So monkey see, monkey do. So if you're upset at the private gatherings and the people that aren't listening, well, I'd start at the top with the politicians that aren't following their own policy.
And I do. Don't get me wrong, and I do. But that's where we are. Is where do we go next? So I still believe people should be following all the rules. But I mean, I won't lie. I've loosened the rules a little bit from a year ago. I had socially distanced visits with people that within the laws, who, aren't part of my household. And things got worse. Things got, the numbers got worse. So we said, we're going to stop doing that. So we've hunkered down, the four of us. It's only four of us now. We got rid of my mom. See ya, Mom. Love you though. And that's where we are. And so we're trying to look at this. But so Jenn, from a nurse's point of view, how serious could this actually be from a not follow the science, not the CTV, Jason, but from epidemiology, comparing to SARS, say, to here?
So I worked through the SARS epidemic back in, 2005, I think it was, or 2003, I can't remember now. And when I started working in Indigenous policy and working with Health Canada on pandemic planning, because we had a lot to learn from the SARS epidemic. So unfortunately, when you start putting all the apples in a basket and you realize you're only half full, I think Canada knew 15 years ago that if a pandemic ever was to hit, there's no way. I wasn't surprised. I was not surprised on the lack of PPEs. I was not surprised, with the work conditions. Our hospitals are third world countries, especially the Civic. I used to teach at the Civic, and nothing has changed. They work so hard. And I was just talking to one of my friends who's a surgical nurse, and they're closing down the Riverside right now. They just got word, and they're being deployed out into the community. So when this hit, I wasn't surprised. I called it. I said, by this time next year, we're going to be exhausting our healthcare system. Our healthcare system is going to collapse. Now they're, what my concern is, and I actually saw a few postings on Facebook, I have 30 years of experience as a nurse. And if they ever threw me an ICU to say, here, fill in, there's no way that a nurse can be trained that quickly. We don't have enough nurses. Nurses are dropping like flies out of the, you look on Indeed and there's thousands of nursing jobs out there, but we do not have the manpower. The College of Nurses has lost so many nurses last year because of what happened with them, with a policy or a privacy breach. And nurses are losing, they're losing ground. They're not supported. They, police, fire departments, every other, essential worker have gotten 5, 6, 7% raises. They got a 0.97 raise through their union. It's so disheartening, and I feel bad for them. I feel that we're in big trouble. I think the next 3 months is, and I'm not worried about COVID as much. I'm worried about the people who not actually, because everybody needs care. But if you have a heart attack tomorrow, what's going to happen? If you discover you have cancer tomorrow, what's going to happen?
Is this an issue, Jenn?
If you're in a car accident,
was this a infrastructure issue to start with?
So when I worked in the hospitals, and this is back 10, 15 years ago, we were over capacity then. We nursed people in hallways, we threw like quad beds, that's what we did. Emerge. I remember code ER on Fridays. And you know what a code ER is? Get the people out who are ready for discharge so we can have the influx of people in. That's the reality of nothing's changed. And now we have this.
Yes. Why are people freaking out? That's the whole point. You know what I mean? It's like, I have a band and I want to play a venue, and I'm thinking, you know what? I don't want to play this big venue because I don't have enough fans to make the place look busy. So I pick a smaller venue that looks like it's really crowded. And so, yes, I understand that there are obviously issues related to COVID, and we're being ransacked. Apparently, I hear different things from different people, but obviously we're having problems being able to service people properly. And at the same time, we know that now this is it's an infrastructure problem. So if that's the case, so it makes COVID seem a lot worse as a whole when we're talking about like we're overrun, we're this, when that, when we already have been already. And of course, when you add a surplus to what was already a problem, it's going to seem like it's bananas. So I think there's this, this like false flag of fear a little bit that we just really don't need to be implementing here in regards to just, let's try to figure out this problem. Lord knows how it's done, Jen. You made a very good point in regards to having to bring the nurses along. But for crying out loud, with all the money that we've spent on everything else and CERB and this EI and whatever, I don't understand why we're not building or creating more infrastructure to at least where we could house these people that are going to need the help. I don't understand why that's not happening. You look at any school right now and they have all those extra little, I can't even remember what they're called anymore, but they have their outdoor classrums, right?
Portables. I love portables.
Portables, exactly. Remember the portables? It used to be for kids just like me, but now it's for all kids. And I don't understand why we don't just have more area that's available opposed to just complaining how we have no capacity.
No, these are actually some
and it's true.
Chris, this isn't true. Chris Scott, if you could type what you meant, because I'd like to hear more about that, because he said something to what Jen said wasn't true. So if this is an infrastructure issue, and I want to get Simone's take on that. Well, we know the government can't do things. I think we've learned that, any Indigenous person could tell you that a zillion times over, is that, they've been trying to fix Indigenous issues from, the residential school, which was them trying to fix the Indigenous issue, right? And I say that to show the incompetence of government. So if we can't count on government, so when I want to come to you in a moment, but I do want to ask everyone this question is, should we just say screw it and just try and put it in there and then let society go on as usual and then let people start dying? Or should we have these laws? Should we have government control?
And I'll be very quick on that, actually.
Yeah, we'll go to you first, Jay. I already know.
Yeah. If we're talking about where there's people that want more serious measures and people that want to lock down and whatever it may be, I support that 100%. You want to go get vaccinated? I support that 100%. I support whatever people, I got to be a little bit careful with my words, but in regards to how people want to deal with this, staying in or, maybe wanting to go play golf, I support that. But I think what we should be doing is allowing the people that want to return to society, opposed to, it's almost, and forgive me if this comes across callous or cold, I don't mean it this way, but it's almost like the people that don't feel safe or the people that have a greater likelihood of contracting COVID, they're like, well, what do you mean I'm going to stay inside while you guys go do everything? If I got to stay inside, everybody has to stay inside. And I just don't understand that, especially for, I keep on hearing the conspiracy theories. I don't see how it's fairly somebody else's view when someone has a different view and you say it's a conspiracy theorist view, because there's a lot of different views.
No, there were people sharing that the entire COVID was a hoax. That's
of course. That's way over.
That's a conspiracy theory.
Listen,
saying 911 didn't happen is a conspiracy.
Oh, well, we can talk about 9/11. We won't know that. We'll go into that for another show.
I do want to let Simone weigh in here for just one moment. Sorry, we can all take on. And honestly, I don't come here saying, guys, I have the answers. Not at all. I don't know. I definitely have opposition to what Jay said, but he and I have had those conversations where you can't say on one hand that, just keep all the autoimmune home and let everyone go out. And then someone who can't wear a mask out there is saying my rights are being infringed upon. They can stay home too. I think there is a balance there. You can't say we're going to have our freedom. Oh, I'm sorry that you were born disabled. We're not going to make you a ramp. There's a slippery slope that can go either way, and you can't just have one or the other. That's all I'm going to say on that. But Simone, I want to get some takes from you. So again, you have some privilege to be home. You've also suffered a little bit lately. You've had a troll, you've had some racial and some sexist, horrible comments, because mental health is affecting everyone, not as any excuse for the person who did that. But and then, so you've had that and lack of resources. So what is your take on all this? Do you have any sort of idea how to fix this from a point of view? How do we fix
the
this?
way, I don't know, just the thing is, they've been telling us, okay, stay home, and we'll flatten the curve and all of that. We stayed home and nothing changed. You know, they've locked us up and the numbers are still going up. I'm leaning towards, things have got to get back to normal at some, whatever normal is at some point. And if there's some like happy medium with those who want to go out and live their lives, whether they're immunocompromised or not, people who want to go out and like go to a restaurant, go to a show and stuff, let them go. The ones who want to stay in, stay in. I know that's very simplistic, I know, but at this point, locking us up hasn't helped. Well, because if locking us up was going to help, we'd be out of it by now. I agree. And I just think locking us up, the issues that I think we're going to see more mental health issues than physical issues coming up. People, I don't want to say going crazy, but people who've just snapped, people who've reached the end of their rope because either they're alone all the time, they haven't seen family members or friends, they haven't been touched in a year. We're going to see the fallout from that more than COVID, I think. Because I know from myself, like I've been very self-aware. I've dealt with mental health issues since childhood, and I have like strategies and all of these things that I can turn to. But there have been days where I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. It's like I'm losing my mind in here, and I think that is what we should be thinking about. That. The longer that we're, either put into curfew, like what else can they do to us? Like curfew for what? Right. We can't go anywhere. Even when things were open, last call's at 9, only 12 people are allowed inside. Like what else? What do you mean? Oh, I have to be in by 8? I'm going to be in by 8 anyway, because I can't, there's nowhere to go. There's nothing to do.
Well, there's going to be people who keep rebelling against it. Because that's why they're implementing it, is because they are.
Yeah. But even the people who are rebelling against it, like, what are they, just standing on a sidewalk at 11 o'clock? No place is open. There's nowhere to go.
That's what they're doing.
But I'm like, let them stand on the sidewalk if they want. They don't want to be in their house.
Yeah, we're talking about the government trying to keep us safe. Right. Yeah. That's what everyone said. We're trying to keep you safe. Number one, I didn't ask anybody to keep me safe.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm like fully capable of keeping myself safe. Like I'm a 43-year-old male, and I understand not everybody's me, but I take good care of myself. I eat well. I exercise. I do all the things that would put me in the best type category to not get COVID. And I believe being a biracial child as well probably increases my odds of that happening as well. Right. But I just do the things that I can do. And all the government wants to do is give me this perpetual loop of fear and just shovel it in my mouth all the time. And I'm like, well, these are brilliant minds. I think obviously there's legislation that's in place that slows things down when it comes to regular things. Like Jen, when you were talking about the indigenous things and trying to pass policies, et cetera. OK, and that's just, the red tape, etc. This is supposed to be a pandemic, and there's brilliant minds in this country. There's obviously brilliant minds in government that over the course of the year, they should have been able to figure out something better than this, which is basically just doing the same thing over and over again. So the scariest thing to me, beyond all of this, is the fact that we do have such like a stumbling, bumbling government, and like, why are they there? I honestly think they should all just be out. Like they all have to go because
Jason and I are
it's a
running the
failure.
province now, and if we can find a middle ground, anyone can. Okay, let's go back to the original point, though, because Ruth made a good point, and Jason said before, like, why didn't they just build more, like, as one of the options, But if we didn't have the infrastructure to begin with, right? If we didn't have that, and we don't have qualified nurses being trained to do this job, right now we can't go out
Or
and steal
doctors.
or doctors, right? You can't go out and get them from other places because it's a worldwide pandemic. We can't say, hey, everyone come to Canada. They're like, hey, we're kind of dealing
Over
with
here.
right?
Yeah.
And so everyone's dealing with it. But I mean, I'm coming to the, what if they're right though? What if we turn it into the Italy where they're going to have to choose between, ventilators because they don't have enough? What if that happens, Jason? What if people, I go by the idea, and I know it's been a year, I hate this too. So I think we're all on the same level here, but what if we do what you say?
Okay.
And we're wrong.
What if these cloth masks really aren't as effective as some doctors say? Right? Because that's split, right? What if, we speculate on the other side, or not saying that COVID is a hoax, but these alternative views of maybe what's going on, like, what if that's true? What if my rights really are slowly being stripped away and I'm left with nothing? What if? We never want to talk about that because that's just like, it's not tangible. It's also outside of the realm.
Policy development is looking at evidence and looking at scenario planning and making the best decision.
But but there's two. For every doctor that you give me that says like a mask is effective, you have another doctor that's saying it's fucking hogwash. Yeah. Right. No, what I never see. I never see the two doctors having a conversation with one another.
Yeah. I'm a shitty moderator, by the way.
Yeah, giving their opinion, saying, I think they're safe because of this. I think they're ineffective. Same. Me too. Because we're getting all of this information.
That's one example. However,
lockdowns. Why not? There's doctors that think lockdowns are incredibly harmful. And then there's these doctors that were appointed by the powers that be that are saying that we need to be locked down. How come I don't see these people talking to one another?
Yeah.
Just give me transparency. If at least I can see these two doctors debate as to the pros and cons and why, maybe that will give me a greater understanding. Instead, what's happening in some fucking dark room somewhere, Ford and whoever else and these doctors are sitting around creating policies, etc., that we're not even witness. You're an intelligent person. We are all intelligent people that are on this panel right now. Then how come you don't show us the information and let us make intelligent, informed decisions?
I just want to. Somebody had put, I think it's Chris Scott. Has a very good point there. And now,
can you read that out to everybody in case they can't see it?
Oh, it's not on the screen anymore.
It says people will not stand for further lockdown. The cost of locking down in terms of financial strain, mental health, as Simone, drug abuse, and delayed development for children is now far more concerning to me. The public health officials are focused solely on COVID. There's almost no attention paid to the other issues that lockdowns are producing. So
because right now they're concerned about our physical health. And like I said earlier, there's going to be fallout from our mental health, and it's COVID related, but it's not, I think they're going to be dealing with not people who've contracted COVID or who are dealing with COVID symptoms. It's people who have lost, I know at least 7 people who've lost a parent or a loved one and couldn't be there with them. Tell me that's not going to fuck with your mind.
Well, no,
both my parents are gone. Both of my parents are gone. And in a way, I'm relieved they're not here because I don't know what I would have done if, I can't visit them because they were in Quebec. I'm in Ontario. They were sick. I can't go to the hospital and they die alone.
That's just why my mom moved back to Saskatchewan for that because my grandfather had a stroke. And Karim, one of my best friends, an old business partner, moved to France. And his mom is slowly dying of COVID in the hospital and he caught it as well.
Hey, Jen, I'll give you a question. For instance, we'll even just go late term. Someone's in the hospital. Oh, sorry. Actually, both. But both of you could have a.
Call me Hayward.
Jen on the bottom would probably have a better
Yeah,
idea
we know
of like
I'm always
answering
on
this.
the top, baby. Anyway.
But like, so I also have a friend, Simone, whose father
I knew you were going to
passed
say
away,
that.
and he had to say goodbye the best he could to a father that was unresponsive through a Zoom call, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to be very strong in my language here in regards to government intervention.
Don't say this to you and to
What fucking right do you have? Does anybody have to keep me out of a room with a loved one when they're going to die because I might fucking get COVID? Are you serious? You know what I mean? You can go to any fast food restaurant, eat shitty food. You can go buy cigarettes, buy your cigars, smoke them. You can drink alcohol, you can smoke your weed, you can do all these destructive things to your body, and the government will fucking put it on a silver platter for you to purchase. And then you're afraid of me getting fucking COVID, like the slight chance. I don't even know what the likelihood of me getting COVID from a full-blown COVID person is, but I'll tell you, I definitely don't give a shit when they're laying on a fucking deathbed. And so you're going to tell me that you can't at least put me in a fucking hazmat suit or something?
Yeah.
So I can hold my parents'
hear you.
hand while they die, or any like that is disgusting.
It is. It is. It absolutely is. It's appalling. It's appalling because I know too many people who
everyone agrees with is that palliative care, absolutely, people should be allowed to be with their.
Okay, so let's extend that though. Okay, so my parent is alive though, and know what I'd like to do? I'd like to see my parent before maybe they have a heart attack, maybe they get hit by a bus. If I want to go see my parent, and my parent's cool with that, then like where does government have a say on this at all? I'm 43. Yeah. My dad's 78. He's high risk, but if my dad wants to hang out with me and have a fucking burger, like, why can't I do that?
Yeah.
Who are we keeping safe?
So what do we do? I know if my parents were still alive, I would have broken the rules. I would have broken the rules to be with my parents. I would have been like, fuck the rules. I would have gone to see my parents.
We're not that close to my family. So
Jen, answer the question. Sorry. Jen, answer the question because I asked like
problem,
right? Going to the room.
Okay, Jen Forsyth, you have the floor.
So I totally agree with you. It makes absolutely no sense why anybody cannot be with their loved ones when they're dying. In any best case scenario, you're probably in the safest area because you are going to be wearing PPE, sitting at the bedside of your parent or your loved one, holding their hands. I couldn't understand that when nurses are wearing the same attire looking after a COVID positive patient. So it doesn't make sense. They're only, they've relaxed the rules a little bit. It's 1 to 2 family members, but that's it. You have to choose. So if you have a family of, like for me, for example, I have 8 kids and only 2 can come see me if I'm dying, that doesn't make sense. And that's what bothers me about all these rules that where I agree, where's the panel and all these people with expert opinions? I'm really big on action plans. Even in all my nursing career, my policy career, everything, I always used action plans. And this action plan is not working. Do I agree with lockdowns? I don't know. Do I agree with, because I'm looking at lockdowns now and I'm going, they're not working. What are we doing wrong? Why aren't we examining the areas where, take that data and say, okay, so these people who are still contacting, how are they getting it? And work on that. Like, take that data and say, okay, these people are getting together in large quantity, people are partying. And I'm just using that hypothetically because we don't know. We don't know how people are getting it. So it's, why are we reevaluating all our strategic planning? This isn't working. So what do we do next? I don't know. Like, I used to be really big for lockdowns. I think it should be all or nothing. At the beginning, that's where said, a lot of us were, even close down the Walmarts, the Costco's.
Yeah,
the schools.
Jen Hayward,
I think the schools should have been closed.
That a year ago, if they had locked it all down and not this really
schools.
Yeah, I just need. Ruth has made an excellent.
And I'm telling you.
Yeah. Sorry, Ruth has made an excellent point to answer Jason's. The nurses and the staff who are in the hospital Jason, well, clearly you don't, but I want to.
I don't care because I'm walking around every day with this fucking flimsy mask on my face. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay for me to go out in public with my flimsy mask or put a scarf over my face or do this, but to go see like my dying parent, all of a sudden I have to be done up to the tits. I
want to take you guys without. I want to flow for a minute without interruption because I need to formulate some thoughts that are brewing because the old feminist is coming out in me, which is actually going to say. And Jason and I had this conversation when I was on one of his panels. When I said, one of the pushbacks against lockdowns has been middle-class people who really haven't been affected before, who haven't had financial, who haven't been marginalized, who haven't been oppressed. Okay. And now as a year has fucking gone by, okay, everyone now gets it. However, we really haven't talked about people in extreme poverty. We haven't talked about the fact is that most of the middle-class people who are talking about and against lockdowns and all shutdowns and all the rest and government can't intervene are the same people who wanted hospital cuts to begin with. They're the same people who wouldn't put money into the infrastructure because their damn taxes are too high. So I think the middle class business people like myself have to take responsibility. If you voted for these people because you don't believe in putting money into the healthcare system, you have helped cause the problem. And because we don't have an adequate healthcare system for this pandemic, we can't just blame the current government, though I do not like them. And I'm sure I love the NDP. They would not have done much better, although socialism would have reigned and I would have been happier. But all that aside, I think we need to take a historical look at the people who are the freedom fighters. The people who are pushing hardest against this are the middle class, because the people who are in poverty are barely surviving before this, now, and after this, because the middle class doesn't give a shit. So that's the feminist coming out of me. The moderator hat's going back on, but I think we cannot talk about the solutions if we don't look at the historical reasons that we're in this situation. That's not an answer to how to
fix it. We have to do that for practically everything.
It's racist.
We have to look at the historical.
Well, that's it. But we're not talking about why we don't have infrastructure in hospital. This is the first time I've really looked at this. Jen, tell us what we did wrong.
We did this during SARS. We did this during SARS and H1N1. Like, those situations could have gotten out of hand hugely. And like, it's not just, it is the middle class, but it is also our governments. Mike Harris, back in, in the 1990s, when I graduated from nursing school, cut like thousands of jobs. They lost thousands of nurses, and I would have been one of them if I hadn't been knocked up, going to Texas or Louisiana or, working in the States, and I probably still would be there today.
Yeah.
So that's when it started. That's when it really started, and then you got Ray in there. And I remember working the Ray days, as a nurse and losing, 2 shifts a month because I had to pay for a Ray day and work for free. And, it's not about infrastructure. We have great hospitals. Do they put adequate money in there? I don't know. But you know what? When those great big CEOs and CFOs and all that, and that top heavy management that's in those hospitals right now, taking that money and salaries, why is that happening? Why are they making millions of dollars and stuff like that, where their frontline nurses and doctors and everything are dropping like flies? Nobody can find a family doctor. Nobody can find a family doctor today, right? Like it's impossible. And, they're not putting money into, I know lots of young people that are trying to get into med school right now because I've written 1,000 references for them. And, unless you're Black or Aboriginal or of a minority, you're not getting in.
Even then, I know a woman who had a 95% average Indigenous First Nation status, didn't get it. So I want to go to Jason right now just to talk about those thoughts and the things I just said. I just want to acknowledge, Chris, Heather, Margaret, thank you for your comments, Anja and Christina, because there's a lot of different opinions out there. We've got people from poverty, people who are saying we could supply things like that. We could supply care to people. Before Jason talked, I want to say before COVID, people would still be, we'd have to Josh would deliver cupcakes to the brewery center and he'd have to put a gown and things on just to go into a room. So they've always had protections. But anyway, Jason, what do you think about what I just said? Because we can rage against the machine all we want, but were we not complicit in creating this machine to start with?
People need to stop thinking that government has their best interest in mind.
No, I agree.
Right. So that would be the biggest illusion. Right. And when people start to think more about their neighbors and how their neighbors can help them instead of calling snitch lines and turning them in because they're having a beer, I think then we'll start making
help
some.
Your neighbors turn that around.
No, I think that's where we start to make some progress. And the way that I stated is exactly how I feel about it. If the government gave a shit about us, that they really, really did, like they do about COVID, all of a sudden they really give a shit. That's what makes me so confused. I don't understand why, because for all the different reasons that I gave you about 5 minutes ago that they don't give a shit about, period, is that they have that black box back there that they're using to do nothing right now other than just deliver doomsday statistics and spread fear. If they wanted to know what they could use that box for, they could use that box. They could use that box to, I don't know, every morning they could have a yoga show on. They could have, inner dialogue work. They could give you ideas on like superfoods, all these different things, positive messaging, things that you could do to boost your immune system to where you would never get COVID in the first place, right? Just, woo-saw stuff, not this perpetual, again, fear loop that does what ultimately? Deteriorates your mental health and also your immune system, making you more susceptible to get COVID in the first place. That's a very easy thing to do. But know what they're doing with this technology instead? They're sending me stupid alerts on my phone to let me know that I shouldn't be outside like I'm 2.
Yeah, I got
you know what I mean? And I'll use the example of the street sign. And anyone's welcome to chime in here and explain this one to me. Is that I'm driving down the highway on the 417, and I see one of these signs that I believe costs a lot of money to put there on the side of the road. I believe it's tens of thousands of dollars, right? And it says, COVID-19, 2 meters apart. I'm driving in my car. Who does that sign, who is that applicable to?
I hope you are 2 meters apart.
If you were Rick, this is the example I use. If you're Rick from The Walking Dead and you just happen to wake up from a coma and someone picked him up and they're driving down the street, he'd look at that sign and say, what's this COVID-19 thing? I'm seeing it all over the place. And say, well, Rick, I mean, it's this thing. It's a doomsday pandemic thing. And you know what? We shouldn't even be in the car together so quickly. We're going to go get your clubs and play a round of golf, and we're okay.
Fucking Jason charming my panel. All right.
You know what I mean?
We're going to be out.
That's my set. That's my set. Good night.
You're going to do some comedy. Simone, I want to talk to you. I want to give everyone a couple minutes for closing thoughts, and then I have a couple of my own. And it's just, I can't believe the time flies. And this was a good conversation. I think Trevor would not have had as much fun as us. And I do hope people talk and learn, because there are multiple sides to this. And I guess I'm representing the feminist left-wing side, but to carry on. But no, we're all this. So Simone, if you can chime in on just the infrastructure and the historical voting of these governments who have continually chipped away for our own profits, so we have a little extra money to buy those TVs.
Yeah, my thing has been nobody is thinking about the mental fallout that's going to happen. Or that's happening right now. People are drinking more. People are doing drugs. People probably took up smoking if they quit, or they're smoking more. And we shouldn't just be concerned about contracting COVID. You don't want to get COVID. And like Jason said, we're getting bombarded by fear messages. not things that we can do to, ease our anxiety, or, methods that we can still connect with people but stay safe. We're just getting like, you're going to die and we're going to lock you up again. And, and it's your fault if, it's your fault that we have to do this to you, sort of thing. I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it. I want, I understand that I'm speaking as a, privileged woman, who has a job and a home, and I'm not worried about catching COVID or anything like that. I'm concerned about my mental health at this point. I've seen friends deteriorate mentally over the last year, and it scares me. Are they going to get COVID? Maybe, maybe not. Am I going to get COVID? Maybe, maybe not. But I know for sure, the one thing I can say with absolute certainty is that everyone's mental health is suffering. And because I remember, like, say this time last year when we were a month and a half into it, people who had never had a mental health crisis were freaking the fuck out. They're like, I thought I was having a heart attack and things like that. And I'm like, that's called a panic attack, and welcome to my world, sort of thing. So I remember talking people off the ledge saying, what you're feeling is not normal, but given the circumstances we're in and the uncertainty and the fear, that's quite a normal response. So we have a lot of people who've never dealt with mental health issues, like freaking out because they have mental health issues. You have people like me who've been dealing with mental health issues for like the last 50 years. And, all my coping mechanisms don't work all the time anymore, because the things, connect with friends, go for a walk, do this, do that. I can't connect with my friends. I can't see my friends, and we're not allowed to go outside anymore. So all the resources that we're supposed to turn to and cling to, we can't do. And I don't think that the powers that be, I have to be very careful because I'm a public servant. I can't,
provincial powers that be.
Yeah, the powers that be, in my opinion, are not looking at the big picture. They're just looking at COVID. We got to keep people inside. We got to keep them locked up. They got to wear a mask. You can't go in here if you're not wearing a mask. Fuck the mask. Who's going to be wearing a mask when they try and take their life? Who's going to be wearing a mask when they're pouring that drink that's going to kill them? You know what I mean? Like, we have to broaden our scope and our view, because it's not, at some point, it's not going to be COVID that's killing people.
Simone, I love that point that you make too. And I always notice that for something like, for instance, I mean, we're all supposed to be afraid. And it seems like the one time people aren't afraid of COVID is when they want to tell somebody how they're breaking some rule. That's when, someone doesn't mind getting up in someone's face. That's when people don't mind yelling at one another, or like it might be an arrest that isn't even all that necessary. Like if it's really that bad, and it's not to say that it's not that bad for some people. It's most definitely really bad for some people. This kills without question. But you don't see this, like, when it comes to being right, opposed to like making the smartest decision. Is it right to have 6 police officers expose themselves to someone that has COVID? Or is it just maybe good to try to talk that down a little bit and get the person just to move on their merry way? And so I think a lot of people are just seeing like these things that just don't make sense. Like, I mean, if somebody, like if somebody was on, somebody I didn't like that was on fire, I'd think before I touch the flames. And these people seem to just jump towards, I'm not a nice person. What can I say?
We got it. All right. So I want to, a lot has happened while you guys were talking. And and a lot of people have shared, and there's some good points. And I think I'm just going to sort of summarize everything and then thank everyone.
Can I ask Jen one question? You have so many kids, you have 18,000 kids. What are the effects on your children?
Mm-hmm. You know what? Thank you, Jason. Thank you very much for bringing that up, because it was a huge eye opener for me. one, the challenge of trying to do 5 kids at different age levels and different grade levels has been a challenge. So my mental health has not been great either. But I have seen the effects of the lockdown and I also opened up a daycare. I know we'll talk about that on another show, but so I have seen the effects from from 1 year old of the COVID babies, that's what we're calling them now, that have not been socialized with anybody, not even aunts, uncles, grandparents, nothing. Huge. That's a huge impact on babies who need socialization. So that's number one. With my own kids, it's been a shit show. My 12-year-old and my 11-year-old who have issues on their own, dealing with trauma from being adopted. Jen knows those stories very, very well. My 12-year-old is suffering big time. And do you think we can get him help? We have tried everybody, and not one person can help him. And the same with our 11-year-old. We have even called the police to come and try to help us because of the anger issues. The kids need to socialize. It's in their DNA. You know, my 12-year-old's failing school because he can't do online. He can't do it. It stresses him out. His anxiety levels go up. It is awful what this is doing to our kids.
No,
you know, my little ones who are 5, that are 5, 7, and 9, they're not coping well. They don't understand. And you know what? This is what the scary part of it is. My kids were always social kids. Always. And when we opened up last year, my kids didn't know how to socialize anymore. They did not know because they were so used to their little pod of siblings. They had no idea. They lost that because they didn't have school anymore. They weren't allowed to play with other children. They weren't allowed to socialize. That's a big problem because we're, as you know, as all of us will agree on, that's going to impact them in later life. And the more COVID affects on mental health,
we're raising socially unhappy people. We're raising a bunch of me's. So some good has come here. Jen, Diane Lanthier, I'd like you to reach out to her. She's offering to do some energy work with your children. If you'd like to help them with some, I don't know what that is, but I know it's good, and she's very good at what she does.
Me neither, but hey.
Heather someone was talking about how amazing your hair looks, Simone, and I know there's people on here on all sides.
My hair? Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that was Anja. There's people on all sides of the fence here. And I think what we can agree, and I'm really emotional right now because when Jen was talking, and I don't talk about this much, and I shouldn't talk about it now, but I really miss my older son. And just talking to Jen has really brought that back. So he's homeless right now and all those stuff. And he's out there and he's one of the marginalized, right? All that said, I do feel there's 4 people here talking about mental health and in different levels of privilege. Jason with his physical health and his age, and Simone with the government job, and me with not being shut down, and Jen at least with the medical knowledge and the family. Like, that's a privilege for Jen and I. I don't think about what it's like to be alone all the time. I think about what the fact it would be nice to be alone sometime. But I don't, you know what I mean? Like, there's other ends, but there's people in the comments who have been talking about how it's hurting. And I think Heather said it best up there is basically, we can all agree the government hasn't done a good job. We can argue about why and who and how, but there's no one offside Jeff Bezos or the really super rich who have benefited from this lockdown. And like I said, I live in if I catch COVID, I'm gone. We all know that. I haven't let it rule me by fear. I'm out there working. I do what I'm supposed to do to help others. Jen, you know, I guess I was getting emotional because, like, holy shit, we got old. We haven't seen each other for a long time. I adopted older kids and then she adopted babies. Because, you know, as you have police at your home and all the things we've all gone through and our lovely choices, Simone is, and I mean, we're missing some things. Like, you're a comedian, and expression is and you're a good comedian, and you're a rising comedian, meaning, like, I don't think I've seen anyone as polished as you so early in their career. Like, you could really go, like, just good jokes. And Jason exists. No, I like Jason. I don't keep a lot of people who but because we can have these conversations and not agree with each other. I know lots of people came here assuming I was going to be super feminist and mean and all those things, but that's not it.
Yeah, Jen's really cool with being wrong, and I appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. I have not admitted error or wrongness. What I've admitted is we're all sick of this. I don't know what a shutdown will do.
Jason, you won me over because honestly, I have compared this to Rick Grimes and The Walking Dead since day one. Right. So as soon as you mentioned Rick, I was like, I love this guy because that's how I live my life. I look at zombies.
So
I want to see Launchpad with you.
That is potentially going to bite me.
I think that the number one thing,
I love it.
I made jokes from the beginning and sort of angered at, or being able to look at the fact that there are people who have never been marginalized who are facing oppression for the first time. And I started this whole thing with, and I do get angry when people are complaining about the small things, but people don't have the coping techniques to cope, and maybe they need those damn crayons, and I get that. I still won't support that. I don't support birthday parties for cats to start with.
Like,
I mean,
I love my cats. I don't throw birthday parties for them. I do a lot of stuff for my cats. Birthday parties aren't one of them.
Oh my God, it's right.
Not yet, at least.
Yeah, what I'm hearing, and like from my end, on the other end, I don't know yet if I'm anti-lockdown. What I am is I don't know what else they can do because people aren't listening. So unless they're going to bring military and shut us all down, what's it going to be? And the first time, and let's face it, if the police get more handsy with all this thing, it will be the poor and the marginalized who will suffer. And no matter what's going on at middle class level, it's 10 times, 20 times worse for those who had nothing to start with. And so I think that I hope that's what we can all take away from this is that, Jason's, I'm not, will you take that to your launch pad?
Well, I can say one thing. That if I were in a serious mental health crisis, I would not call the police. I would not.
And I hope you have me on speed dial because me? Are you saying don't call me?
It's
because I know, like when I was in Toronto, my doctor had said, if you have, because I had to take a year off for mental health issues, and there was an episode where things were not good, and I remember my doctor saying, if you ever feel like that again, you can call 911. And I remember thinking to myself, nope, no fucking way. I'm not calling 911.
Listen,
I'm not calling 911.
This is what I don't understand. And again, I will just warn about greater government intervention. When you're talking about lockdowns and military and police and who's going to suffer the most, like, listen, it's not even about who suffers the most. We all suffer. And what you're talking about when it gets to that level is that you're giving the powers that be that much more control and that much power. And if they've done a bad job already, and that's the one thing that we can all agree on, then why the heck would you even trust them with any different type of lockdown with even more authority? So when people say this whole, like either just lock us all down, or I say, I don't even want to hear this lockdown thing anymore. We've tried the lockdown thing. I don't want to hear anarchy, Dave. I want to do the open up thing.
I don't want to hear anarchy.
I want to do the open up thing. We've tried
let's try the open up thing.
Let's try the open up thing. And if you want to stay home, stay home. But I'm ready to go outside and prance. I want to wear my sundress.
Could we do the open up thing? Well, we don't make it just about my point, Jason. It comes back to what I was saying is that we are affected in a minute little way. Let's understand what it was like to suffer this year and pay that forward to those who suffer every day is my point. Sure. Is that's what I would like to at least see something good come from this. I would like to say that these discussions that we're having, like, we're talking from Simone's lens, we're talking from Jay's lens, we're talking from biracial, from Black, from, someone who's adopted 18 Inuk children, or Inuits, Inuk because it's individual. I know that, I learned. We're looking at all different levels in life. And the thing is, without COVID, these conversations weren't happening. Without these conversations, I'm sorry, Jay wasn't at the table talking to Jenn Hayward about anything. We weren't, unless it was like, how do we make money together? That was what we would talk about. Or how do I exercise, which I don't want to do. But I'm doing it, damn it. My kid is saying I'm due for my squats. We're doing a challenge. So in the end, and Andrea's asked for more of these conversations, and I'll see if people want it. We've had a lot of viewers come and go throughout this. I think we should. I think there are people, though, that we need to hear mental health on the other side who are so afraid to do anything that they're suffering. We need to hear
I know
from
people like that too.
Yeah, I want to hear
people from that end too.
I want to hear from the ICU nurses. I want to hear from these people who are on the front line. I want to hear from the people who had died. I want to hear from the people like Simone who are suffering mental health. I want to hear the individual stories, and I want to see how people are coping. So I have to leave it at that, because if I don't do my exercises now, then I miss it. And then I have to be sore, because it's like every day you have to do one more stupid squat on this thing. And I'm up to 19. I don't laugh at my 19. It takes a lot to get me to 19. But I just want to say thank you to everyone for coming. This was very spontaneous, as everything with me is. I didn't want to write a proposal. And so I said, I'm going to arrange a discussion. That's what I did. And so Trevor, if you watched, sorry you didn't make it. You're welcome anytime. I will never, ever, ever chastise anyone for canceling, because I am the queen of not showing up for stuff. I usually get noticed, but my mental health has been good when I'm not drinking, and the rest of the time I'm drinking, and so that's not a good thing. So I wish everyone well on their journey, but I think in the end, reach out if you need help. Less so to me than to others. I'm empathetic. I have my own trauma and the guts, but I have resources, so I can certainly help hook people up. Jay's got to go. Jay's, go watch the launch pad. Go watch what's yours called, Simone?
Oh, tonight I have a comedy show called Lockdown Laughs. It's on Zoom. Yeah, it's on Zoom, because I'm on Facebook. And my podcast is called Shooting the Breeze. And it's on hiatus, but it's starting up next week again.
Yeah. Launchpad.com. Yeah, I know, I'm on it. Okay, everyone, go watch Jay now. I think he's doing something. He's mad that I kept him over. Oh, an Indigenous woman didn't stick to her time. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys. Thanks so much.
Bye. Take care.
Love. Thanks. Bye.